ShieldBreakers, Weekend Warrior Nate, the Overlord here with
Lord Byron, Savior of the Imperium.
Wrong universe.
Still Imperium.
Well, today we're bringing you a Malifaux battle report again, with Lord Byron's first appearance. Lord Byron, what are you bringing to the table today?
I'm bringing a 50 Soulstone list, bringing Misaki and the 10 Thunders. So right now I got Misaki, Shang, the Toto, 2 Torakages, and 3 Thunder Archers. And then I upgraded Toto with his Thunder Strikes, Misaki with her Disguise upgrade, and also her Save the Face defensive upgrade, so I can pass my Horde rules by taking a point of damage against your horrible army.
Fantastic. You also took the one that makes you immune to charges, correct?
Yes.
Excellent choices. I will be running Zoradia today. The crew is Zoradia with Bad Juju, the Spawn Mother, a pair of Waldgeists, a pair of Slurids. Upgrades today, Zoradia has Hex Bag and Crystal Ball, and Bad Juju has Eternal Fiend and Hexed Among You. Today's strategy is going to be Squatter's Rights, and our scheme pool is Assassinate, Make Them Suffer, Breakthrough, Vendetta, and as always, Line in the Sand. I have chosen to reveal Line in the Sand. My other strategy or scheme is currently unrevealed.
Both of my schemes are hidden.
Indeed. Looks to be a fun little battle. My strategy with Zoradia is to take advantage of Hex Among You, to throw the Slurids and Bad Juju up close and personal, get myself some good prime real estate to start with, and kind of pin him in his backfield. We'll see how well that works. We'll see how well Bad Juju does with Misaki and a Toto to the face. Hopefully that goes well for me. I do have to deploy first, so we'll see how that runs.
I'm definitely going to be, my strategy is going to be to get rid of your spawning abilities, because I definitely don't want to get overrun in this game with all your Slurids and Sleepnarks and Forks and Jabberwockies. So definitely going to go and try and kill the things that make more things, because I can easily become overwhelmed.
Very true. Thankfully they stay way, way in the back, and you have waves of people to get through to get to them.
Which is why I have archers.
Indeed. So, with all that, we'll be back in a few minutes with deployment. And welcome back, Weekend Warriors, for the deployment setup. We are a standard deployment. I was forced to deploy first, losing the flip against Lord Byron. Taking advantage of my Hexed Among You, I've deployed a pair of Slurids in position to, on turn 2, walk and take Squatter Rights. Bad Juju is up in the center field, hoping to get in there and mix it up a little bit. My backfield is my Spawn Mother, Zoradia, and a pair of Waldgeists to come in as a third wave. Should be able to take control of the board pretty quickly. I usually do with this crew, and hopefully I can keep control of it. We'll see if his punchiness will override, and his 10 Thunder Archers.
And then you can see for me, I pretty much set up in a line to try and start getting those shots in. I've got Misaki with Shang over here to start headed that way, a Toto to run the middle wherever he needs to go depending on what he does. And then I do have my 10 Thunders in my Torakage to start pushing forward to try and help clear board space. And thus begins the epic showdown of fate.
Having won initiative, the Overlord takes the first move. Activating Bad Juju, he performs a charge directly at a Toto. The first melee attack connects, inflicting 5 damage on a Toto. The second melee attack connects, inflicting 2 damage on a Toto. Bad Juju finishes his activation by activating Landslide as a 0 action. A Toto passes his required willpower tests. The Torakage with the ball and chain also passes his willpower test. The 10 Thunder Archer in the background, on the other hand, fails, taking 2 damage and slow. Angered by this assault to his presence, a Toto responds by performing Thunder Strike. Bad Juju passes his required walk duel. He then flurries against the Swamp Bag. First melee attack hits, inflicting 2 damage, inflicting Stagger and Slow. The second melee attack hits, inflicting 6 damage. A Soulstone Prevention reduces it by 2, taking 4 damage total. The final melee attack hits, inflicting an additional 4 damage, killing Bad Juju. He finishes his activation by doing Flesh Wound, which fails. Overlord then activates his Spawn Mother, who opens up with a double walk. After spending a Soul Stone to guarantee the Crow Suit, she performs a Lay Egg action. Lord Byron's sword-wielding Torakagi performs a double walk, lining up for the squatter's rights. Zoradia takes her action, performing a walk. She then says, "You remind me of the doll," and summons a voodoo doll in line of sight of the Torakagi, attempts to perform a hymn action, and fails. Chain-wielding Torakagi also performs a double walk to get in position for the squatter's rights. The voodoo doll activates, performing a hymn action targeting the Torakagi with the swords, this time succeeding, giving the Torakagi the Stone Fate condition. The leaping Ten Thunder Archer performs a double walk. The kneeling Waldgeist performs a Germinate action, creating a forest marker. He then charges the voodoo doll. The first melee attack it hits, it inflicts 2 damage, also inflicting 2 damage on the Torakagi thanks to Stone Fate. Second melee attack hits for 4 damage, killing both the Torakagi and the voodoo doll. Lord Byron then has his standing Ten Thunder Archer perform a double walk. Overlord Slurred performs a leap action. Passing, he engages the Ten Thunder Archer and the Torakagi. His first melee attack attacks the Ten Thunder Archer and hits for 1 damage and poison +1. His second melee attack also hits for 1 damage, triggering Blood Frenzy, allowing an additional attack which hits for a final point of damage. Coming to the aid of his friends, the final Ten Thunder Archer performs a Thread the Needle attack action, allowing to engage the Slurred even though he's engaged without randomization. The attack hits for 3 damage. The Leaping Waldgeist performs a double walk and a Germinate, passing, placing another forest marker on the board. Lord Byron brings Misaki to the front with a double walk. Her final action is to go defensive. Thanks to Flickering Bacento, she is not required to discard a card. Overlord's final Slurred performs a walk and a defensive action, preparing for the next turn and squatter's rights. Final activation of the turn is Shang, who performs a double walk to get close to his master Misaki. This concludes turn 1, no victory points scored yet. Winning initiative, Misaki charges the Slurred. The first melee attack misses. The second melee attack, though, hits at a +1, inflicting severe for 6 damage, killing the Slurred outright. This grants Make 'em Suffer, but also brings Bad Juju out thanks to Eternal Fiend. Overlord then activates the other Slurred, who attacks the Ten Thunder Archer. The attack hits, inflicting 3 damage and killing him. His final attack is to target the Torakagi with the chain. The attack hits, inflicting 3 damage, granting Blood Frenzy, but that attack misses. He attempts the leap, and that fails. The Kneeling Archer in the backfield performs a rapid fire against the Slurred. The first attack misses. The second attack hits, inflicting 2 damage. The final attack hits, inflicting an additional 2 damage, killing the Slurred. Zoradia again activates, summoning a doll. The doll again performs a hymn action targeting the Torakagi. This action fails. Zoradia will then follow this up with an Obey, which succeeds, forcing the Torakagi to throw a shuriken at his archer friend. The attack hits, inflicts 1 damage, and the Torakagi finishes it off with a leaf step. Ototo, needing to get to the front, performs a double walk, and performs just a flesh wound action, succeeding in healing 1 point of damage. The voodoo doll then walks, targets Ototo with a hymn action, succeeding, granting him Stone Fate. Shang performs a double walk, once again to try to support her master. The Kneeling Waldgeist charges the voodoo doll. The first melee attack hits, inflicting 3 damage. Ototo, thanks to Stone Fate, also takes 3 damage, uses a Soul Stone to prevent all 3 of it. Second melee attack it hits, also inflicting 3 damage. Ototo then again performs a Soul Stone prevention, this time only preventing 1. Both the doll and Ototo receive the slow condition. Torakagi comes to his senses, performs a walk action, and an interact, claiming the first squatter's rights. The Overlord's Leaping Waldgeist also performs a walk action, followed by an interact, claiming his own squatter's right marker for the turn. giving both players 1 marker each. The leaping Ten Thunder Archer targets the walled guys with a hail of arrows. This attack misses. Spawn Mother then performs a walk action and takes an interact herself, claiming a second squatter's right for the Overlord, guaranteeing him a victory point at the end of the turn. She then performs an egg action and fails. Final activation of the turn is Bad Juju, who performs a walk action and ignores Misaki to attack Shang with a melee attack. The attack hits, inflicting 2 damage, and also triggers Quicksand. Shang fails his willpower test, granting Paralyze to Shang. He then landslides as a 0 action and fails. This concludes turn 2. The Overlord scores 1 for Squatter's Rights. Lord Byron scores 1 for Make 'em Suffer, bringing it to a tie game. Turn 3 opens with Overlord activating Zoradia. She summons a new doll as the last one died in post-turn. The doll's free him action targets Ototo and succeeds. Zoradia then performs a Hex Bag, hitting and succeeding, inflicting poison 4 on the doll and Ototo. She completes her action by performing an Obey, targeting Ototo. This succeeds, forcing Ototo to use his massive Tetsubo against the Torakage with the chain. The attack hits, inflicting 6 damage thanks to Crit Strike, killing the Torakage. Lord Byron, forgetting that Shang is paralyzed, activates him, immediately ending Shang's activation. This brings it into Bad Juju, who opens up with a landslide that fails. He performs a melee attack against Shang, which hits for 5 damage, killing Shang, granting the Overlord +1 victory point for Make 'em Suffer. His second melee attack targets Misaki, which hits thanks to Misaki flipping a Black Joker, even though she was on a double positive for her defense. The attack inflicts severe damage for 7. Ototo continues to advance on the front, performs a walk action, and it's just a flesh wound, passing, healing 3 damage. Overlord then activates the Kneeling Walled Guys. He performs a double walk to get around the hillside, and finishing to engage with the Ten Thunder Archer. Misaki, thanks to her diving charge ability, leaps away from Bad Juju to charge the Walled Guys. The first melee attack misses thanks to perfect camouflage. The second melee attack hits, inflicting 1 damage and triggering Assassinate, thanks to risky ventures. Overlord discards 2 cards to avoid the death of the Walled Guys. Second melee attack hits, again inflicting 1 damage and triggering Assassinate, forcing the Overlord to discard his final 2 Soul Stones to keep the Walled Guys alive. The Walled Guys, sensing danger, retaliates and attacks Misaki. The first one misses. The second attack, on the other hand, hits, inflicting Red Joker for damage and 6 damage, killing Misaki outright. The Kneeling Archer targets the Spawn Mother with a rapid fire, but thanks to perfect camouflage, all 3 attacks miss. Spawn Mother then calls out to her young and spends her activation, hatching the egg marker. The Ten Thunder Archer attempts to disengage from the Walled Guys. Both attempts, unfortunately, fail. The newly hatched Gups perform a walk action, trying to get in a better position for Line in the Sand. The final activation of the turn is the doll, who performs a simple walk action. This brings us to the end of turn 3. The Overlord scores 2 additional VPs, 1 for Squatter's Rights and 1 for Make 'em Suffer. Lord Byron scores nothing this turn, keeping him at 1 VP. Winning initiative turn 4, Zoradia activates first, performs a Hex action on targeting the doll, succeeding in inflicting burn +2 on the doll and Ototo. She then walks to the voodoo doll and uses her voodoo pen action to do 1 damage to the doll and Ototo, performs another voodoo pen attack, inflicting an additional 2 damage to the doll and Ototo. Ototo, knowing he's going to die and tired of seeing his friends around him getting killed, activates, performs a Thunder Strike. The Spawn Mother and the Gup both pass their required walk duels, but then performs a melee attack with his massive Tetsubo, hitting the Spawn Mother, inflicting a mighty 9 damage by cheating a Red Joker in for the damage, killing the Spawn Mother outright. His second attack targets the Gups and hits, inflicting 4 damage, killing them, also granting him a victory point for Make 'em Suffer. The Walled Guys activates and it targets the Ten Thunder Archer. The attack succeeds, inflicting 4 damage and killing him. He then performs an interact, dropping a marker for Line in the Sand. The final Ten Thunder Archer activates, finding the wall guy's not in range, performs a walk action and shoots at him. The attack hits, inflicting 1 damage. Overlord then has Bad Juju perform a double walk, threatening the 10th Thunder Archer. This is followed by the final Wald Geist deploying a ski marker for line in the sand and performing a walk action. Concluding turn 4. The Overlord scores an additional victory point for Squatter's Rights, bringing him to 4, and Lord Byron scores an additional victory point for Make Him Suffer, bringing him to 2. With Ototo having died during post-turn due to burning and poison, this leaves the 10 Thunder Archer as Matt's only activation as he starts turn 5. He performs a rapid fire against the kneeling Waldgeist, but again, thanks to perfect camouflage, all 3 shots miss. Overlord then has the leaping Waldgeist deploy another scheme marker for line in the sand, and perform a walk action just in case turn 6 comes into play. The kneeling Waldgeist performs a walk action and also deploys a scheme marker, giving 4 scheme markers for line in the sand. Bad Juju then finishes the turn and the game with a double walk and a landslide, which the archer passes the required willpower duel. This brings the final duel total of the Overlord with an additional victory point earned for Squatter's Rights and an additional 3 granted for line in the sand to a total of 8 victory points. The Overlord on his final turn manages to score nothing, bringing his final total to 2.
And we're backbreakers for the post-battle. A very hard-fought battle. Well, he will disagree possibly. Final total was 8-2 in the Overlord's favor. Well fought, Matt.
Thank you, Overlord.
What did you think, Lord Byron?
You know, it was interesting. Definitely learned a lot. With your crew, Zoradia, Klaatu, Verada, whatever. With the ability to use the Hex bag and the doll was very interesting. Although I did kind of was able to throw a wrench in it with Ototo's ability to just kind of be like, I am a Toto.
Ototo, I think, is currently the longest surviving model that I've ever had targeted by the doll's ability.
Yeah,
he
just kept going.
Ototo's final activation. Oh man.
Yep, well, he definitely, when I realized he was dead, it was like, well, let's kill that Matt, and we did.
Decided to drop the Spawn Mother and a Gup in the same activation. Both of them were fully healed. Red Joker cheat on the Spawn Mother.
Red Joker cheat on the Spawn Mother. Make sure it happened. And then the Gup. Definitely Misaki should have gone a lot further. But the deck of, oh look, a black Joker, you hit me, and then you flipped a red Joker on another damage flip when I was like, she can take a little bit of damage. And you killed her in 1 hit there. So 2 hits and Misaki was dead.
We saw Misaki as a super tank because when Bad Juju attacked, she was at a double positive due to defensive and risky ventures. She flipped Black Joker for her defense. Bad Juju came in for severe damage and did 7. Then
she charged
the Waldgeist next to him and
didn't kill it. And then the Waldgeist came through and hit, and we're like, oh, it's a negative condition, not a big deal. Be fine. Red Joker for another 6 damage. So Misaki dropped her in 2 hits. If that hadn't happened, it would have been very different because Misaki was pretty much, she should have been able to run that half the table.
I have no doubt about that. But Bad Juju should never be a match for Misaki.
Yeah.
I mean, he's solid, he's good, I love him, but it's not for his staying power. Well, it is for his staying power because of Eternal Fiend, but I expect him to be more of a speed bump and a harassment than a straight up damage dealer.
I mean, it was just the deck, so Misaki lost, it's the way it goes. The Torakages and the Thunder Archers were doing pretty good on their end of the table. Ototo definitely held up his end of the bargain for as long as he was. Would have picked a couple different strategies. Definitely wouldn't have gone with Assassinate, thinking I could make it back there to get her. Was wrong. Should have gone with something else. Make them suffer was pretty good. Misaki and Ototo were able to get a couple VP off of that. And that being said, you weren't able to get much off of Juju using Make Them Suffer.
No, Make Them Suffer with Bad Juju. Even though I had 2 henchmen and a master, with Zoradia doing all her damage through hemming, and Bad Juju getting stuck paired off against Misaki because of a bad decision on my part. And the Spawn Mother, I don't usually use her for damage. I try to do more of the summoning with the Gups, and I can't seem to get a consistent summon off, even with Soul Stones and Control Hands. She may or may not stay in the crew. I haven't decided yet. I love the idea, but it's just not working as well as I want it to.
I think it was pretty fair. I wouldn't have changed much in the way I deployed or moved my models around. I definitely thought they were doing a good job, but the deck, especially in the last few turns, it was like, oh look, a Black Joker.
Yeah.
It's the most I've flipped a Black Joker at any Malifaux game myself. So
you were sitting really pretty at the end of turn 2. Torakagi both locking up the center line.
Ready to hold down those two things, and then your doll pretty much ripped one a new one.
Yep.
And then did not know about the doll, and then the rock in the way really prevented me from doing a lot on your backfield towards Zoradia or the Geist who gave her a forest. So knowing what I know now, I definitely probably would change the tactics a little bit. Probably wouldn't bring Shang. Might do a little bit more of smoke and mirrors, something along those lines. Just change up the play style a little bit. But I'm confident I know how to play against the crew. I don't think I did too bad against the crew. I think the deck definitely screwed me.
Yeah, deck was definitely a heavy feature.
And you were definitely bringing it, though. I mean, you knew how to play your crew, and you brought them in where they needed to be, and they were doing a good job.
The way I run the crew is very, very fluid. I try to maximize Hexed Among You as much as possible. A lot of early threat. Bad Juju charge a Toto turn 1. Came screaming across the battlefield. Should have set a Toto up for a quick kill. Didn't happen.
Nope. A Toto was tough.
That actually almost was kind of a drop in a bucket maneuver in the long run. Yeah,
because it really, I mean, it set him up so that he died towards the end, but the fact that he died at the end of turn 4 was...
And I was hammering him every turn with something.
Yeah. Something, and I was negating wounds, and Flesh Wound popped off and gave him a max heal, and he was just able to bring the pain.
He can tank, especially since, you want to get rid of those Soul Stones as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so when it comes to big damage, it's like, and then Misaki can run around and get Black Joker to death, so.
Cool. Well, thanks for playing. It was a fantastic game.
Indeed, it was fun. Most enjoyable. Would 10 out of 10 would play again.
Let us know what you think. Please leave your comments below. Again, they're always appreciated, and we're always checking them out. Please like, link, and subscribe. ShieldBreaker Games, The Weekend Warriors, A Weird Place, and the War Gamers Consortium.
All right. You have a good night.